Hey, what's up everybody? So doing a quick summary video of what I've done to this car here. This is essentially what's become my project car, and it's my daily driver. It's been the most dependable car I've ever had since I purchased it new back in like 2009. So I got notifications coming up. So just gonna show you a quick summary of what I've done to the car. It's been the most dependable car I've ever had. I need this thing to be a fun car that I enjoy, you know, so I do things to it every once in a while. So it's a car that I continue to love. I'm not in the market to buy a new car. If I've got one, that's fine. And with what I'm doing in life, you know, everybody's up to different things in life, and I'm building a business, which is something that takes many years. This car is doing everything that I need, and I still love it. And after doing all these upgrades to the sound system that I've wanted to do for many years, I carved out some time in my life with things that, you know, in life sometimes there's little pockets of time to make things happen, and I had a pocket of time to do this install. And that pocket of time had to be stretched out because it was a lot of work. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and to get things to sound right, to be right, as best as I could with the time that I had allotted. It was probably about several weekends of work, so I'm estimating maybe 40 hours of work was put into this on mainly on the weekends, at about, you know, 5 to 6 hours, you know, on a Friday. Yeah, if I worked a half day on Friday, I do a Friday, Saturday, sometimes a Sunday. So there were several weekends that I didn't really have a life, and I had fun doing this shit. So I want to show you guys, anybody else that's looking to do this, you know, if you're not doing this all the time, but you're an able, handy person, you'll find that you can do this. You can fucking knock this out, and it's going to be more work than you might have thought. But it's worth it if you do it right. There's a lot of people on YouTube that show how to do this stuff, and I'll be showing a little bit as best as I could with this install process, which I didn't really video absolutely everything. It was just key points as best as I could as I was trying to get things done, and things just took a long time again. So you're not going to get absolutely everything that I did, every single step, but you'll get a gist of what it takes to do this. So I'm going to turn this camera around, and then I'll just be pointing at the car, showing you a real summary of what I've did, and then I'll be posting this video up along with the installation videos that I took. So hope you all having a good day. All right, so what do we have? Here's the engine bay. We'll start off with, maybe I'll kind of explain it as I got things. So back in the day, I bought this Optima deep cycle battery because the battery that came with the vehicle new, it didn't take long, maybe several years, before the old amp that I used to have and the old system just basically drained it out. So I got this deep cycle battery, and I just used to have 4 gauge on my old 1000-watt amp, which was this one here. This is now going to the amp for my highs. This is going to the amp for my lows, the bass amp. I've got these things from GP Audio, I believe they are, these distribution blocks, which are amazing. Then I did the big 3, which actually is a big 4 and might end up being a big 5. So here's, we'll count them out. Here's number 1, the ground to the negative, that's 1. Ground from the engine block, there's number 2. That's one's going through here, and it's going over here, and it's going all the way to my negative, so that's number 2. Number 3 would be the positive to the alternator, which is going underneath here, going this way, coming out through here to the, that's a new alternator. So I think we're up to 1, 2, 3. Then 4 is grounding the engine block again. That's this black wire here that's being zip tied and going to that. So that's 4. Number 5 is going to be just like how I did on this side. I drilled into the chassis, and of course I clear coated this once after I drilled and went down to paint to get the best grounded connection so nothing corrodes. I'm going to be doing the same thing over here and grounding to the negative side, which is that bolt. I'm kind of revolving my finger around, of the new alternator. So this car came with, I believe it was a 100 amp alternator. Alright, so forgot to delete videos on my phone, which I already downloaded to my laptop, and ran out of room, so deleted all that. Now I'm back to what I was talking about, which I believe was the alternator on this car. It came with a 100 amp alternator, and which was perfectly fine. Like I said, I haven't had much problems with this car since this car has been extremely dependable. But I had to switch out the alternator to give my system enough power, and I purchased a 200 amp alternator, the rest of the videos will show. So let's see what have I not discussed. So this is my 1/0 gauge going to my bass amp, which is the Wolfram 2400 watt, going to an Incriminator audio lethal injection. Then this 4 gauge here is going to a NVX GAD 800.4, running my highs, and my highs are, they're the JBL GTO Stadiums. The 3-ways is what I've got up front. Here are my crossovers. Can we see that well? So over on the left side is the one for the mid-range. I believe I've been calling it a 3-inch, and it's a 2-inch mid-range, which is up on the dash here. That used to be the old tweeter location. Let's see if we can look into that. That's what used to be. Can we see that? Can we? No, this is just, it's a really sunny day, so this isn't working out right now. But yeah, there's the that's where the mid-range is, up there. Then here's the tweeter. I've got the woofer in there. These doors were completely dampened. There's an opening there. Once you take off this interior shell, there's an opening in this door, and you'll see this all in my videos, but again, this is just summarizing everything that I did. There's a big opening here, and then you see the window mortar, so the window goes up and down. That's all covered up with a 1/4-inch piece of PVC pipe. Prior to putting that PVC, the inside shell of this door has the sound deadening on it, so you could hear the difference here compared to something that doesn't have any sound deadening. Let me just I'll be back with you guys. Alrighty, so where was I? Yeah, the doors are sound deadened. I used Noiko, I believe it is, for the 80 mil sound deadening. That's all in the inside of the shell. I did, well, I guess I'll talk about the trunk when I get to it, but I did all the trunk, the boot, everything. The inside of this door has been done. I also used second skin. The butyl rope was literally the MVP of the show. I was able to use it in many parts that might have had vibration. And then I also had the Stinger, Roadkill, all these foam decouplers for the speaker, for the door. Inside the door, behind the speaker, there's a thick foam to get, I guess, the rear, what's it called? I'm not gonna have the perfect terms here, so I'm doing this on the fly, but it's the rear reverberations, I guess, of the speaker itself. So let me just open up my trunk here, and then I'll show you guys the amp rack, and there'll be an install video for this too. So let's open this up, and this is what's happening in the trunk. I'll just kind of zoom out here so you can see. These are amp racks, and I did threaded rods that go back to the car frame, which had these 2 holes, and I guess it was to hold some sort of net, you know, netting that you could put on to hold things in the trunk. Well, I utilized those locations to use these threaded rods to put on these amp racks on either side. There's the Wolfram 2400. That thing is a fucking beast. Here is the lethal injection 12-inch, which I purchased from Sound Solutions, or wait, what is it? SSA Sound Solutions Audio. When I first purchased this sub from them, it was to replace an RE Audio SEX, which is a 600 watt amp, and it was being pushed by a Massive Audio P1000, and that P1000 could not give this thing nearly enough power. So for a very long time, the RE Audio was actually louder than this one, because this couldn't it couldn't get the power it needed. So I was pretty salty about it for a long time, and I knew I needed to do all these upgrades in order to get the most out of it. And this thing now is just, it blows that RE SEX out of the water completely. This thing is, it's a fucking beast, and I'm gonna go on to Sound Solutions Audio and write a review now on this, now that it's getting all the power that it needs. I mean, more than it needs. It's 1,000 watts RMS. It's taking, God knows what it's taking. You know, when I really push it hard, I'm smelling coil from the I guess the epoxy glues around the coil off-gassing and stuff. I don't think I'm damaging anything. I'm not going that loud, you know. I'm trying to, I really do value my hearing like you can't imagine. You know, I'm also an audiophile, so this is kind of like my junk food sound system, you know. My fine dining is my home audio, and maybe I do a video about that one day, but it comprises of NHT Classic 3s and Adcom GFA 5552 amp. I've got a subwoofer from Dayton Audio, which is the Titanic. I've got a plain amp from Rhythmic Audio, so you can kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about as far as the level of that system. Still modest, something that I can afford for my home audio. I've got a big Harman Kardon 7-channel surround sound receiver, the big TV, all that stuff. It's also fun, but it's not one of these, it's not a $100,000 system. Anyway, back to this. This is the NVX JAD 800.4. This is powering on my highs. And if we look down here, these are the JBL Stadium 6x9s, which took a little bit of retrofitting to get them to fit in here. This, everything you hear is the sound deadening. That's the Noiko 80 mil. It's all over the trunk. It's literally everywhere. Even these walls. This is all Noiko. This up here is all sound deadened. Everything. Like, I'm talking about every nook and cranny up in here. So, yeah, that's just. So that's the quick little summary I wanted to do of what I've done. I'm extremely happy with it. The only issue that I'm having now is that it's a little bit of rattling, which I isolated everything within the panels for the rattling and anything that could have vibrated with all the dampening materials that I mentioned. And another MVP of the show was the, what's the name of this tape called? The Tessa tape. My God, that stuff, I wrapped all my cables going everywhere with that Tessa tape. And when it comes to these here, I've got all the cables, which is, let's say this is, not let's say, this is one of the channels of the amp. This would be the front right channel, is coming straight out of that JAD amp, and then it's going all into, and I'll switch around here, I'll continue this right now. So the front right channel of the JAD 800 is going to this big crossover, which is for the highs and the bass, and then from there it's switched to 3-channel operation, which means that it's using this. It's like I don't know what kind of cable this is. It sends a signal to this crossover for the mid-range, and this is set up to 3-way, so this is activated, and basically the front right channel is feeding all of this. Approximately maximum, it can go up to 200 watts according to what that Class D amp can do, and that Class D amp sounds really good. I was talking about it might have sounded cold or something. No, it does a really great job. And in my older videos, I do talk about oh man, I have to get into all this stuff at a later date. I'm trying to make this video modestly long. So that's just how these front stages are connected. It's all using amazing, for the most part, amazing new Comtex 14 gauge wire, and the 6x9s in the back deck are using monster cable 12 gauge wiring, and those are using the rear channels of the JAD 800.4. So car's kind of dirty now, so I'm going to be doing some more work. I'm replacing those headlights, these fog lights. I'm repainting the bumper, and there's a few like dings around that I'm going to get fixed, and touching up the paint, and this car will be like brand new again. You know, it's got over 100,000 miles and it still purrs like new. So yeah, that's about it.